Hello everyone and welcome back to Ace Attorney Investigations, Miles Edgeworth, where I thought Agent Lang was playing a ruse to get us back into the embassy. I'm not too sure of that anymore. It's still possible. Also, my gamepad was dying, so I was getting a little distracted towards the end of the last episode. I have it plugged in now. The problem is, when I set up my office, I had forgotten that you can't use a Pro Controller charging cable, like for a Wii U Pro Controller charging cable, to charge the gamepad. So I have where the gamepad charges is like far away. So I wasn't able to, not able to charge that on the fly like I used to be able to. So I might have to make some changes to that. But for now, let's figure out who was on both sides of the wall. I think I alluded to this earlier, actually. Is that really so, Agent Lang?
What a lousy time to try and bluff your way out of this.
No, we actually know of at least one person.
I checked out what the guard said, along with the security camera's footage. You're not going to overturn my hypothesis that easily.
But suppose there was some other way other than through the theater doors.
What other way?
The other entity that managed to cross the border unharmed, if I pointed it out, it would open up a whole new possibility. And though I hesitate to bring this out, as long as this entity exists, the impossible road becomes a possibility.
Looks like you got a clever idea in mind.
I do, and I can show it to you through a single piece of evidence.
Yeah, fine then. Let's see this piece of evidence that will show me this other route.
This piece of evidence will show us another way to move between the two countries. It's a photo. I was ahead of my time. I was actually it's psychic. Agent Lang, I'm sure you are familiar with this unforgettable photo.
That supernatural photo, like I said before. Humans can't fly.
No, of course not. I understand that perfectly well.
Don't start claiming that Sheena somehow grew wings, either.
I wouldn't dream of claiming that.
And I won't allow you to take back what you said, either. And I'll say it again, it's not humanly possible to fly through the air without wings. So you'd better have a good explanation for this, Mr. Prosecutor.
Ugh. But how can I prove who it was that flew through the air in this photo? Wait, not humanly possible? Eureka! Very well, you will have your explanation.
Sounds like you have a good idea simmering inside that head of yours. Let's hear it. The face hidden within this photo's blurry, trailed shadow is...
Wait, it's not a person? Can I look at the photo again? I thought the wire was going to come into play. That, like, they moved using the wire? Not humanly possible. It's not a person? Oh! I think the wire does come into this. Right? No, it's not that. It's the other one. Right. So yeah. Oh my God. It's been so long. I keep forgetting which country is which. It's been swapped with a fake. It used to be the real. Okay. So yeah, that one went over to Babel. So it's this one. That's what went through. Was it with the wire though? Take that. Naturally, the shadow is the third smuggled object, the Primidex statue replica.
You can't be serious.
Yatagratsu, or rather Callisto Yu, dressed as Agent Sheena, It was inside Babel. She dressed the replica statue up in clothes and launched it through the air.
Mr. Prosecutor. You left out a very crucial bit in your explanation.
I know I did.
She launched it through the air? How exactly did she do that?
He is literally baring his fangs at me. But he has a point. How exactly did it move through the air like that? As long as this remains unsolved, we won't be able to move any closer to the truth. Which reminds me, didn't he say this earlier? He says, I remember that just before Ambassador Alba went to give his speech, he called you into his office, right? So just before the murder, Francisca was called here, right into this very room. Ooh, probably with purpose. If that's the case, then that may be another avenue I can pursue. Agent Lang, in order for me to answer that question, I will need to hear testimony from Miss Von Karma.
No, what are you up to now, pretty boy?
Earlier, you mentioned something of interest to me. You said that just before the murder occurred, Miss Von Karma had been in this room because Ambassador Alba had called for her. And for that reason alone, you believe her to be the killer.
Yeah, I guess I did say something like that.
In that case, I believe it is my duty to ask her what her side of the story is.
Do you really think a criminal would tell us the honest truth?
How dare you? As I've said numerous times, there is absolutely no proof that I am the killer. Miles Edgeworth, don't tell me you suspect me too. I don't. However, I can't ignore the fact that you were in the room at one point in time, which is why I would like to hear about your movements in this room. Francisca, I feel that I still don't have enough information, which is why your testimony is incredibly important to the outcome of this case. Alright, so what would you like me to talk about? I'd like you to please testify to your movements in this room until the murder occurred.
Alright, let's try this out. Try this your way for a change. But if what she has to say turns out to be a waste of time, I'll place her under arrest faster than you can howl no!
As you wish. Uh-oh. So we have to find contradictions in her testimony? That's weird. As I said earlier, I was assigned to guard duty in the Alabastian embassy. After I saw the Steel Samurai off on his way towards the ambassador's office, I returned to the Rose Garden for a bit and checked up on the security situation. After all the preparations were in place, I was called back to Ambassador Alba to his office. That's it? Francisca, I want us to make this clear from the very beginning. So what I wish to confirm is that the only time span in which you were in this office was before the murder occurred, is that correct? Yes, of course. I see. For now, the only way that I can see for us to break out of this situation is to ask Francisca about her testimony in more detail. What?
Hold it!
I thought your duty was to fact-find anything you could about the smuggling ring. Yes, that was my job. But upon hearing that the Yatagarasu had sent a calling card to the embassy, Ambassador Alba called upon us to protect the embassy instead. That incident 7 years ago, or have you forgotten what happened here back then? Ugh. Anything related to that case we were involved in appears to be rather painful for her. It's not exactly one I can readily forget myself. Looks like you remember the case after all. Of course I do. I inspected every location, every possible escape route, and every aspect of the police's security detail. I did all that, then after that... So you were at the theater as well? Yes, and I suppose you were also there as well, watching that stage show? Well, yes. So Francisca was there. Well, after the show's over and I saw the Steel Samurai off... Why did you need to confirm the degree of preparation for even the speech? For security's sake, of course. What other reason could I have had? No one knew just how the Yatagarasu had planned on getting in, right? Yes, I suppose you're right. And in the end, the Yatagarasu did choose to appear in the Rose Garden, even if it did turn out to be nothing more than a shadow. Who would have thought that she would use a shadow? Calm down, Francisca. She must still be nursing a grudge over the fact that she couldn't figure it out herself. In Anyway, there was no one in the rose garden, and we were aware that the speech was set to start soon thereafter.
Hold it!
At that time, Damask II's body had yet to be found in this room, is that correct? That's right. But Ambassador Alba was here. One could hardly miss his rather large presence.
A criminal will say anything to get out of getting arrested. How do we know you're not lying?
Well, if you need proof, I'd be happy to oblige you.
Seriously?
Like I keep telling you, when I arrived at this office, Ambassador Alba was already here. He was standing by the flower box on the windowsill watering his plants.
That I can attest to. I remember speaking with the lovely lady around that time here in my office. Alright then, add that statement to your testimony and let's hear some details.
So Ambassador Alba was in this room at the time, was he? Ambassador Alba was watering the flowers on the windowsill, right? Press. For the sake of being thorough, I'd like to ask you something. How did you know that Ambassador Alba was watering his plants at the windowsill? What do you mean by that? The entrance to this room is on this side, however, the window is on the opposite side. If what you say is true, then you entered the room, his body would have been like a wall. He would have been blocking your view of what he was doing, is that not correct? I suppose it was a bit hard to see around him. Unfortunately for me, Ambassador Alba is not an immovable wall. I knocked before I entered, and as I did, he turned around to greet me, with a watering can in his hand. So it was only natural to believe that he was watering his plants, right? I suppose. After his greeting, we spent a little time talking about his flowers. He had obtained them himself and is growing them with the utmost care, you know.
Yes. The plants in this room, they are like my children, whose names I remember.
The passion flower in the flower box on the windowsill are growing beautifully, too. All 4 of them are in full bloom. Miss Von Karma, what did you just say just now? I said that the flowers are growing beautifully. What about that statement do you not understand? What do I not understand? I do not understand why a certain thing is the way it is. I'd like for you to append that statement to your testimony. Very well. There are 4 large passion flowers in full bloom in the flower box. Do we have evidence otherwise? Where are they? Yeah. 2 large flowers bloom. You said 4.
Lies!
Keep stepping on the brick for the charger. Francisca, for some odd reason, your testimony contradicts with this piece of evidence. It does appear that way.
Yeah, I knew it. I knew we couldn't trust your words, sis.
Mr. Edgeworth, what are you doing discrediting Miss Von Karma like this? Yeah, sir. If you keep this up, she's gonna get taken away, sir. Deek. All I've done is state what I saw. I have not made a single mistake in my testimony, and for this I am still under suspicion for murder. Is the number of flowers really all that important at this juncture, Miles? At the very least, it is a contradiction in this enigmatic case. One that I find hard to dismiss as irrelevant.
Let's hear it, Mr. Prosecutor. What does the number of flowers have to do with anything? What does it prove?
I believe the answer to that will become clear if we were to examine that flower box. How did this contradiction come about? There must be something behind this discrepancy.
They're my beloved flowers. I have grown them with the utmost care. So I ask that you please be gentle with them as you examine them, Mr. Edgeworth.
I understand. But he didn't forbid us from doing it. I won't rest until I've inspected every suspicious-looking nook and cranny. Alright, I see what I want to look at already. Right there. This patch of soil looks as though it had something removed from it.
What are you doing, Mr. Prosecutor? Why'd you clam up all of a sudden? I'm still here, waiting for an explanation, you know.
Did you know, Agent Lang, flowers are best appreciated in silence? Looks like 2 things were pulled out of this flower box. Okay, how about that one? Alright, you. The watering can has a rather robust design. Mr. Edgeworth, why are you telling us stuff we can clearly see for ourselves? Plus, if you keep wasting time talking about that, Miss Von Karma's gonna get arrested. I better examine something else. Alright, the flowers. The name of these flowers, I believe they're called passion flowers. Despite being called flowers, they are actually a species of vine. They appear to be growing well and are well supported by these plant supports.
Yeah, but no matter how I look at it, it looks like there's are only two here to me. You realize, don't you, sis? Your little lie has failed you.
Miles Edgeworth, hurry up and shut this man up for me already. I suppose I will need to use some evidence to shut him up, won't I? What do we have? Two large flowers in bloom. Ambassador Alba takes great care in growing them. Okay, that doesn't help us. Found at the open air stage. It looks like a guitar pick. It's also wet for some reason. That's weird. Part of the rose garden pool. Auto refills the water. Alright, that doesn't help. Photo of the Yatagarasu doesn't help. The fire doesn't help. Wire. A good length of wire that was found wound up inside Babel's grandfather clock. Discovered at the Babelese embassy. Alright, that doesn't help. Fireplace. Sticks. Oh, there's dirt on the tips. I was wondering about that. I'm gonna do it. I believe I have just the piece of evidence you require.
No, you do you? You have such confidence in the face of your current plight, but I highly doubt it'll last until the end.
You howl like a wolf, Agent Lang, but we'll see if you have any bite to back up that bark after you see the evidence. The truth the passion flowers reveal can be seen in this piece of evidence.
Take that!
Sheena, who is supposedly in Babel the entire time, had these hair sticks on her that look exactly like the plant supports in the flower box. In other words, I believe it can be said that these hair sticks are in actuality supports for those two plants. Support sticks for the passion flowers.
And so what?
So that means Agent Sheena was here.
Is this really all that important to the case?
Of course it is. It means that we found yet another item that was smuggled between the countries tonight.
Ah!
Think about it logically, Agent Lang. These sticks were originally in Alabast, but somehow they wound up in Sheena's hands, who was in Babel the whole night. So make no mistake, these sticks were smuggled somehow, just like the knife in the statue.
Very well then. I want to hear from you exactly how they wound up in Babel.
How did these support sticks find their way to Babel and why? There must be a reason as to why they ended up there. So that's why. Agent Lang, if you would please take a look at this and tell me its shape.
It's just another stick, isn't it?
And so it is. But the shape of the support sticks is what's important. For when they are used as something in this room, that's when it all comes into focus. And that object that completes the picture when it is used with the support sticks is... the object that completes the picture when used with the support sticks. Alright, I feel like I can safely eliminate the plant and the table. They're like barely in focus. The fan wouldn't do anything. Back wall wouldn't do anything. Oh! Oh! Is this where our wire comes into play? Were they used as crossbow bolts?
That's that's a crossbow. Wait, you're not really suggesting I am.
I am. These hair sticks, or rather plant support sticks, they make for perfect arrows.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done it. I found the common thread that connects the two offices. But this thread is yet to be completely untangled. Even using the arrows, how does this explain how the statues were transported? Furthermore, who could it have been who fired these sticks as arrows? There must be a common thread that ties all of these things together.
Mr. Prosecutor, hold up a second. You do realize what happens when you tie a statue to an arrow, right? They don't fly at all.
Right?
So Babel's statue was draped in the Yanagrasu's clothes and then shot over here. Even if you fired the arrows from this side, they wouldn't go far with a statue tied to them.
You do that part after.
I don't think I need to tell you that the Primitive statues didn't sprout wings. You're a realist after all, aren't you?
The primitive statues didn't sprout wings. Of course they didn't.
Glad you understand. I feel much better already. I was afraid for a second that you were unaware of that crucial fact.
It's only crucial because you're under the belief that wings are necessary to this equation.
What?
You need to free your mind a bit more and let it fly like a bird on the wind. The primitive statue flew, but not on a wing. Allow me a bit of your time and I'll explain this mysterious phenomenon to you. Hey, we got this. Okay. But where... So Battle statue was draped in the Yanagrasu's clothes and then shot over here. No, that's not true. But that incredible scene just happened to have been caught on film, resulting in this photo.
And what an incredible scene it was. This photo was taken by a freelance photojournalist, right?
Yes, so I hear.
Not every photojournalist is known to be honest, right? Especially not the ones that sell photos of spirits and giant creatures to tabloids.
Yes, I know what you mean. I've seen those sorts of photos many a time in court. But there have been times when those photos have turned out to be telling the truth. If you had ever stood in a court of law, you would know that it's entirely plausible.
Nah, you really believe the stuff you're spewing right now. The courtroom certainly is a strange place if what you say is true. But there really is something odd about the photo, no matter how you look at it.
Hold it!
But we are in agreement that an arrow by itself would reach the other side, correct? Yeah, put that in your testimony.
But just the arrow by itself is pretty meaningless, don't you think, Mr. Prosecutor? Because the things they wanted to smuggle were a lot bigger than nothing.
No, that's not necessarily true.
What?
What I need right now is not further discussion of my conclusions, it's the launching of my conclusions. What the shooter wanted to launch with the crossbow was not statues themselves, but rather something a crossbow can launch that can be used to move the statues. What did the crossbow launch? No, wait, oh no, I wanted to present. I'm ready. I'd like to solve the puzzle. The thing the crossbow launched, allow me to show you the answer.
Well, come on then, show me what you got. But I warn you, I'll know when you're just bluffing.
This is what was launched from the Alabastian's office with the crossbow.
Take that!
Finally the wire makes sense! Finally we have reached this point in our discussion. For I present to you that which was carried by the arrow from the crossbow.
Nah, I get it now, Mr. Prosecutor. I can see exactly what you're trying to say. You're saying that the wire was tied to an arrow and then shot into Mr. Cochin's office.
Mr. Cochin was probably involved.
All the way from the 5th floor of the Alabastian Embassy down to the 3rd floor of the Babylese Embassy. If what you're claiming is really what happened, I can see how the Alabaster primitive statue could be moved. Gravity could be used to move the statue down the wire from the 5th to the 3rd floor. But then what about Babel's primitive statue? We still gotta work that. The dark shadow in this photo is clearly flying away from Babel. Going in the opposite way of gravity from the 3rd floor of the Babylese Embassy up to the 5th floor of the Alabastian Embassy. How do you explain that?
I don't. Aha! I think I finally see how the gears behind this whole trick works. I'm glad one of us does. I got nothing. Agent Lang, the motion used behind this trick. I wonder if perhaps you have yet to envision how it works in your head.
Motion? What motion?
But this is the motion that was employed to smuggle... Alright, I can rule out swinging. Rotary is the only one that makes sense. So then they shoot it back. That caused a loop? That would make sense. I know for sure it's not swinging. I don't see how bungee would apply. It's got to be rotary. All right. I believe this was done via rotary motion. If the two statues were transported simultaneously...
Simultaneously, get real. The statues would collide somewhere along the way.
Did I ever say that there was only one line of wire between the two offices? There we go. If you shot an arrow with the two ends of the wire tied to it, a circular belt can be formed.
Langji says, don't objection call a success what is beyond reasonability. Taking into account the tension difference between the two wires, the top one would sag too much to the point where the statues would collide anyway.
Agent Lang, as you know, the Perunic statue is a one-of-a-kind national treasure, and the fact that Babel's statue is a hollow replica of the real statue, it would naturally be lighter than the real one, meaning that my idea is very possible. That's true.
Langji says, no!
Here's what I believe happened. Miss Yu and her mystery co-conspirators set themselves up in two different rooms. The co-conspirator bridged the rooms by shooting the two ends of the wire down on one arrow. Then the two of them covered the statues and proceeded to transport the statues. After the switch was completed, another arrow was fired, carrying the other end of the wire down to Babel, where it was to be disposed of. And to do that, Miss Yu hid it inside the grandfather clock. QED. This proves it, right, Agent Lang? That I'm not the killer.
Not yet, sis. I still haven't had my dessert yet. Right, Mr. Prosecutor?
The proof is in the pudding, as it were.
Pudding is a nice dessert, so do you think you can do it? Can you prove that what you said is what happened? Because remember, if you can't, I'll be taking a certain someone back home with me as a souvenir.
I agree that as long as there is no proof, my hypothesis remains just that. However, what I have laid out is no mere hypothesis, for there is one more piece of evidence.
One more? This should be interesting. You think you have a piece of evidence that will turn your hypothesis into fact?
We'll just have to find out what that piece of evidence is in the next episode. Oop, I press the button again. I always do that. I don't know why. Trying to put the stylus away. Anyway, that's gonna do it for me. I'm so excited to see how this plays out because there's still so much unanswered, and I have to know. I wish I could keep playing today. I would probably record like another 10 episodes. I'd probably finish this game today if I could right now because I'm so invested. But we'll just have to wait for next time. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.